It's NBC 26 at 11. One man in custody after police say he threatened to shoot up a school. We have the latest. Plus, a series of shots fired in Appleton. Authorities looking for the suspect. And an apartment fire in De Pere sends 3 people to the hospital. Those stories and much more, but first, a storm alert. Gino Recchi has a look at your first forecast. Gino.
Good evening, Mo. We do have some pretty interesting weather heading into northeast Wisconsin. We're talking about some ice accumulation for parts of the area. We have already an ice storm warning down from Marquette towards Sheboygan counties, a winter storm watch in effect for a good chunk of us, and farther northward, a winter weather advisory. Now, for the ice storm warning and just for a good chunk of northeast Wisconsin, we are concerned with that ice accumulation, that freezing rain building up to a quarter, perhaps near a half inch of ice, and that will cause perhaps maybe some power outages and some very dangerous travel, especially on those untreated roadways. Now, for Green Bay, looking at the latest data, several forecast models, how much ice we're talking about, between a tenth to as much as a quarter inch of ice accumulation. I'll have more coming up with a full forecast.
All right, thank you so much, Gino. An Appleton man who police say threatened to shoot up a school is now in custody. The threat did not list a specific school. NBC 26's Matt Jarko explains what led to this arrest.
An electronic threat sent to the Green Bay's FBI office triggered a multi-agency investigation.
In light of incidents this past week, this was a threat to be taken very seriously.
Appleton police say this threat,
indicating that he would shoot up the school,
resulted in the arrest of 23-year-old Appleton resident David Etheridge. Police say just before 6 p.m. Saturday, a SWAT team went to Etheridge's South Side home.
We were able to make contact with the suspect.
Police say Etheridge left his residence and complied with orders
and was taken into custody.
Appleton police say Etheridge sent a number of other messages to the FBI as well. Those messages are now part of the ongoing investigation. And while this threat didn't name a specific school, the Appleton School District is thanking police. Writing on Facebook, "We appreciate the prompt response of the Appleton Police Department and other agencies." In Appleton, Matt Jarko, NBC 26.
And staying in Appleton, police are looking for a suspect involved in a series of gunshots fired overnight. They do believe all the instances are related. They say just after 1 this morning, officers got a report about a man with a gun at the Apple Pub on College Avenue. No shots were fired there, but just about an hour later, officers reported to Grumpy's Pub on Richmond Street after they say shots were fired outside. Then an hour later, police responded to a domestic disturbance call at the 700 block of West 3rd Street.
On arrival, found a vehicle parked in the driveway that had a gunshot damage to the windshield of the vehicle. They believed at that point that they had someone that may have been connected with the 2 previous incidents.
And if you do have any information, please contact the Appleton Police Department as well. A man wanted in connection to a homicide in Iron County has been arrested in Oshkosh. Just after 7 o'clock tonight, James Luzier was taken into custody for several charges. One includes party to a crime conspiracy to commit a first-degree homicide. An apartment fire in De Pere caused 3 people to go to the hospital. The injuries are non-life-threatening. The fire happened today just after midnight at 550 South 9th Street. Fire officials say they brought the flames under control pretty quickly with the help of local police.
They were able to gain access to the apartment of the fire origin. They were able to empty a fire extinguisher on the fire, and they also removed the occupant of that apartment.
And the damage is estimated at $25,000. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. The Green Bay Police Department says 1 man is in the hospital tonight after a head-on crash. They say it happened after 6 in the evening at the Webster Avenue and Chicago Street when a 41-year-old woman was heading north on Webster Avenue. Police say she crossed over into the southbound lanes and hit a vehicle. She was arrested for OWI while the male driver was sent to the hospital with serious injuries. The Appleton Fire Department says 3 people have been displaced from an apartment fire that happened just after 6 in the evening on 3208 East Canary Street. They say the cause was a wood-burning fireplace, which led to a chimney fire in the attic. The Red Cross is helping with shelter. And covering America now, students from Parkland, Florida are planning a 24 March demonstration in Washington, D.C. and other cities to protest the president and Congress's inaction on gun control. NBC Jennifer Johnson has more from the state capitol.
Funerals for 3 of the 17 killed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, victims of the carnage left behind after 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz opened fire with a legally bought AR-15 semi-automatic. But students' grief is turning to anger at lawmakers for not passing gun control legislation.
We're not going to let the 17 bullets we just took take us down. If anything, we're going to keep running and we're going to lead the rest of the nation behind us.
The students are planning a March for Our Lives demonstration in Washington, D.C., March 24th. The high schoolers are calling out President Trump, Florida Governor Rick Scott, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and others for their inaction.
We are talking directly to them and all other members of the United States government that are being funded by the NRA to tell them now is the time to get on the right side of this.
Despite promises after the mass shootings in Las Vegas and Sutherland Springs, Texas, Congress has failed to limit the sale of bump stocks or tighten up the instant background check system. But members are still promising to fix it.
I have individuals in my neighborhood that own an AR-15. That doesn't make it a dangerous neighborhood or them dangerous individuals. It's the individual themselves becomes the issue, not the weapon that they're holding.
On Twitter, the president is blaming the FBI for not acting despite warning signs about Cruz, saying the FBI is spending too much time on the Russian election investigation.
Those Florida students are also urging young people to vote in the midterm elections and reject candidates who take money from the NRA. Jennifer Johnson, NBC News, Washington.
Also, a packed house at a church near the scene of the recent school shooting in Florida. Their service was focused on what happened and how to heal from it. Their screen showed the hashtag Portland Strong, while the minister and others wore shirts from Stoneman Douglas High School. First responders were recognized with a standing ovation and a long round of applause. And the minister talked about when they found out a lost member of the church was there that day.
At that point, we got the word that one of our 9th graders wasn't among the kids who got away and wasn't in the hospital. And that was the furthest thing from a composed pastor you've ever seen.
And the church also honored all members involved in education. They lit candles for each of the victims at the high school and filled the church with cell phone lights in remembrance. And on to more local news. Opening statements start tomorrow on the trial of George Birch. He's accused of killing a Brown County woman. You remember the case made headlines nationally for using Fitbit data as evidence. Police say George Birch murdered Nicole Vanderheiden back in May 2016, but his lawyers say Vanderheiden's boyfriend is the one at fault. The judge has been asked to allow data from the Fitbit to be reviewed, saying it'll help track him the night of the murder.
How many of you have ever worn a Fitbit device? Is there anyone who's had a horrible experience with their Fitbit device?
And last one, the judge tossed out data related to sleeping, but did allow the data related to step counting. The trial is expected to last 2 weeks. St. Norbert's College is hosting a one-of-a-kind handwritten heritage edition of the St. John's Bible. This is the Gospel and Acts volume of the Heritage Edition. It's a reproduction of the original. It has illustrations and calligraphy done by Donald Jackson, one of the top calligraphers in the world.
Donald Jackson was the art director for the Heritage Edition and took each page and compared it to the original vellum. And not until he signed off did they say, yes, that's as close to the original as possible print.
And if you do want to check it out, it'll be at St. Norbert College until March 2019. Festival Foods will only allow sustainable seafood options. They say it's an effort to show support for healthy oceans and rivers. The term comes from they're caught or farmed in ways that support a healthy ocean. Workers say sustainable seafood helps with long-term benefits as well.
We have to look and think about what our future generations are going to be looking at when it comes to seafood. And if we don't change our thought process and actually support the ecosystem and support the fisheries, eventually, you know, we're going to fish ourselves out of having a good fish fry.
And this is part of a partnership that started back in April of 2016. And it's a blast from the past at the Oshkosh Public Museum. This morning, people enjoyed their replay exhibit. It featured more than 30 pieces from artists all over the world, celebrating comic books, superheroes, and sci-fi characters. Now, people we spoke would say it takes them down memory lane.
I actually really like it because I grew up in the 80s, so I have all the Star Wars stuff, all the comic book stuff, so it's very interesting. I like all the different exhibits.
And that exhibit goes on until May of 2018. What's still ahead on NBC 26? Coming together 2 decades later, members of the 98 curling team reunite in the Badger State. But before we get to that, what's that weather going to look like for the rest of the weekend? Forecast up next.
Active weather is moving into northeast Wisconsin tomorrow morning, but some of you, especially in the morning commute, might luck out and miss out before the storm really starts to crank up. It's in the late morning tomorrow through Tuesday, where we do have the potential of some freezing rain, sleet, snow, and everything in between. Some ice storm warnings down to the south from Marquette all the way towards Sheboygan counties in effect until Tuesday evening. Then we have a winter storm watch in effect for a good part of the central part of our viewing area. Farther to the north, Shawano, Oconto, Menominee, you folks are seeing a winter weather advisory, and behind that is a winter storm watch. So what's going on? We have all these watches, warnings, kind of want to differ what's going to be happening. Well, significant icing for sure is going to be happening over a good chunk of the viewing area. But farther northward you go, we're going to start to see some cooler air transition with some of that precipitation. What that means for us, at least farther northward, more of a sleet and snow mix. So that should start to dwindle down in the amount of freezing rain we should be seeing for this time of the system. But right now, nothing happening. We got quiet conditions, mostly cloudy skies overhead. We do have a little bit of a system just to our neighboring north that's now departing, caused near a foot of snowfall over northeast Minnesota. But the system really starting to shape up. You see that band of moisture all the way from Wyoming up into South Dakota. This moisture is going to be traveling east, and we also have some heavier snowfall ongoing over parts of the Rockies. All this moisture is being transported eastward from a very large upper level disturbance. You see that by the water vapor imagery? Look at this large circulation moving right over Oregon into Northern California. It's this energy level that's moving in and ejecting all this moisture off to the northeast and tapping in, and what we will be seeing as we get into tomorrow. Practically half of the country is seeing some type of weather headline because of this large system. It could be from fog advisories to ice storm warnings, even a flash flood watch. Flood watch is in effect for southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, because those folks could see as much as 1 to 3 inches of rainfall out of the storm. As for us, it looks like more of a wintry precipitation on tap. So for tonight, temperatures holding steady in the upper 20s, lower 30s. We have to wait until late tomorrow in the morning hours. Right around 10:30, that's when the first batch of the precipitation moves through. Snow perhaps on the onset for Green Bay, wintry mix down to the south. Now, if we do see a little bit of snowfall, that is good news, because think about it. You have the snow that falls first and then the freezing rain on top of it. That freezing rain won't make contact along those secondary roads that won't get plowed right off the bat. So that snow will prevent that freezing rain to hit the ground and cause some black ice. Now, farther to the south, where freezing rain looks to be the first and main precipitation type towards Appleton, Oshkosh, Waupaca, and Watoma, you folks could see some more black ice. This continues through the day on Monday into the evening hours. Then we have a bit of a break into Tuesday morning. Might see a light freezing drizzle, but wait until Tuesday morning. That second wave of moisture moves through and adds additional ice accumulation. We have to wait until lunchtime on Tuesday before the system completely moves out of the area. So we got a 1-2 punch coming in our way. How much ice accumulation are we talking about here? Well, after the 2 rounds, some of us could see over 1/4 of an inch of ice accumulation, especially towards our southwest, Watoma, Appleton, Oshkosh, and Fond du Lac. Farther to the northeast, a little bit less. Now, how much snowfall accumulation? Not a lot of snow with the system, about a dusting to an inch, maybe near 2 inches farther northward you go, but it looks like it's going to be more of a wintry mixed precipitation event. 30 degrees, winds out of the south, out of the west, 5 to 10 miles per hour overnight tonight. Tomorrow, starting off right around 34, but temperatures drastically dropping during the day into the 20s. And then we have that wintry mix continuing into Tuesday. Sunshine Wednesday into Thursday. And then it looks like another batch of a wintry mix Friday into Saturday. Some of us could see some snow, maybe even some sleet and freezing rain once again. So after the system early this week, rest up a little bit, and then perhaps another round of a wintry mix.
It's like it gets nice, and wait for it. We're not done yet.
Right. It's a little bit of tease that Mother Nature's doing for us.
I wish you would say a little more consistent.
I'll try my best. I'll give her a call, see what she can do.
Messes up people's plans.
Right?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gino. We're coming together 2 decades later. Members of the 98 curling team reunite in the Badger State. Welcome back. A giant snowman has been taking shape all week at the front lawn of an office building in northern Wisconsin. Builders in Minocqua used shovels, snow fencing, and chainsaws to recreate the traditional snowman that hasn't been seen since the winter of 2016. Now, last year wasn't cold enough. It takes him about 6 to 8 people to build the 30-foot snowy cromer, a tradition dating back to the 60s. Community leaders say it takes about 3 days to do it.
It takes a bunch of people to essentially stomp the grapes around the outside. The game is just to entertain the people that are coming up for the weekend and want to see something new and interesting.
And the committee hopes snowies last until early April, and they'll knock him down for safety. And curling is gaining a lot of attention during the Olympic Games. The Eau Claire Curling Club hosted an open house and Olympic throwback at their facilities yesterday, reuniting a few members of the 1998 curling Olympic team.
20 years ago. I can't believe that it's been that long, and here we are and talking about our stories, and they feel like it was just yesterday when we were competing and having a chance to get on the podium and wearing USA on our backs.
And Team USA just fell short of the bronze medal in the '98 Winter Games, which was held in Japan. Well, that's going to do it for me tonight. To stick around, Sports Rewind with Chris Barrier is coming up here next. Stay tuned.